We're going to start off with a very noisy and dark scene. Don't worry, it'll get better. Just want to have it dark in the room so I can demonstrate this. If you look, recently I changed my build to pink, as I showed you earlier. So the LEDs are nice and pink, and well, the background's blue at the moment, but most things are pink. You got the pink mouse, which is actually an RGB mouse, so it's not really pink. It's just a red and blue LED, and it doesn't appear as well as this one on the camera. But there's a sore thumb. Our keyboard is red. And I did this on purpose because I didn't want to, I had the option of buying the Corsair, I don't remember what they call it, the RGB one that is $100 more, or I could just get this one, which is only like 80 bucks Canadian. Okay, I'm going to get this one, and then I'm going to buy like $3 of 100 pink LEDs, which I know this is 105, so like 7 of these are not going to get LEDs because I used 2 of them there, and whatever. Either way, basic premise is that I'm going to replace every single LED in this keyboard. And if you're in a similar situation as I am, where you're too cheap to buy an RGB keyboard because you don't care, for one, and 2, you just kind of want to match everything to your build, well, you can go ahead and replace every single LED. It's not that hard. You just got to desolder it. You'll need either a desolder braid or a solder sucker, which I'm going to use the latter because it's way easier. And I'll show you how. So let's get to it. First, you're going to disconnect this keyboard. I'll see you there. Alright, welcome downstairs. So here we've got the keyboard set up. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to take apart this keyboard, and I'm going to be the first to admit that I have no idea how I'm going to do it or how you're supposed to do it. But I suppose what we should first start off with is taking the keys off. I see some screws under the keys. I'm thinking that that will take the metal faceplate off, revealing the plastic underside. You can kind of see the board through the thing already, although they do look like they're kind of secured into this metal plate, don't they? We'll see how it goes. On the back side, let's inspect for some screws. I may have to look at someone else's video to figure it out. Doesn't look like there's any screws. Let's see, hidden under there? Nope. Nope. Hidden under here? Doesn't feel like it. Oh, yes there is. There's one screw hidden under there. I don't think there's, I suspect there might be some hidden under the feet. Although I doubt it, but there's definitely one hidden under there. We'll see. So let's go ahead and take off all of these keycaps first of all, I suppose, is what we should do. That'll take a minute. A minute. Jesus Christ. So I took all the keycaps off. Now I'm going to find a place to put those in a minute, but now I gotta wonder how to take this apart. As you can see clearly, I'll get a close-up afterwards. There's little tiny screws here, and I'm not really sure if you're supposed to take those off or not. By the looks of it, it looks like the keycaps are going to hold this in and not be able to remove this faceplate. So I'm thinking that you're probably only going to be able to access it from the bottom, but then that makes me think there aren't any screws on the bottom. So let's go with it, shall we? Let's go ahead and take out all of the screws. Let's zoom in a little bit here, maybe, and focus a little bit more on the actual subject matter here. There we are. I'm gonna need a Phillips 1, I think. It looks like a Phillips 2, actually. No, it's a Phillips 1. So I'm going to go ahead and take out all of these screws. It looks like there's about, if I had to guess, it'd be 24 of them, but I don't know for sure. If I'm spot on with the 24 guess, I'm a miracle worker. Let's try Phillips 2. That isn't working too well. Phillips 2. Not a Phillips 2. Strange. Give me 1 minute. I have a device for this. I just hate worrying about stripping screws. There's nothing more annoying than that. Here we are. Nothing more annoying than stripping screws. Let's see if this one works. This is a nice, yeah, that's nice. So let's go ahead and take all of those out. Another fast forward, and we'll see what happens. I'm just going to cut, actually. I'm just going to cut. You don't want to watch this. I'm just taking screws out. Alrighty. here we are. So I've taken out all those screws. You can see right here. And it wants to come up, like I said, on the back side. Like, well, one of my predictions is the plastic wants to just sort of separate, and the board is attached to the metal, which is nice. That's good. But the backing feels like it still has screws in it, but there aren't any more screws to remove. That makes me think that there's probably clips in the back. I'm gonna get a thing, a flathead, and just gently investigate, gently, quote unquote. Sometimes you got to be a little rough with this stuff, but we'll see if that's the case. I'm not. What makes me curious is I'm not really seeing any clips. That might be a clip. So it really feels like it's being held in by something other than clips, which makes me go, you know, like that. If that was a clip, it would start to give, but it doesn't seem like it is. Here's a bias switch. I've never played with that. But then again, I haven't missed any screws. I hope there isn't one under this Corsair label. That would be awful. That would be god-awful if they did that. Let's see here. Okay, so I had to look online for this one. Apparently, Corsair put one under the logo, just so that you'll have to ruin your logo while you're at it. So I'm just taking a blade here, and I'm just slowly tearing this off. And apparently under here is another one, another screw that I can't see. And of course, it's the type of sticker that's like kind of metal. So basically, once you take this off, it's gonna look ruined. That's the only downside. I'm sure if you took this off really carefully, maybe like you ran the blade the whole way, but then you're gonna probably scratch the surface. So they've done a great job that way of making sure you can't really take this off. And I'm like struggling to get it off without ruining everything. But what can you expect? So there's a single screw. A single screw. Ooh, that's annoying, eh? That's a fun one, when they put a single screw, just to ruin your day. Alright, there you go. And now the whole thing should just sort of start to come at least a little bit more off. Yeah, there it goes. And that's what was holding it in. How good is that, eh? How classic is that? Put that in. I'm gonna have to iron that out. I'll figure out a technique for that. Don't really care actually, but let's zoom out. One more screw that they wanted you to not notice. There you go, it's right hidden there. Beautiful. So I bent the metal a little bit because of that. That's okay. That's a-okay. One more screw. There you go. That can be bent back, luckily. Ta-da! Now the whole thing comes out. So there are two hidden screws in this keyboard before they'll let you get to it. Where should I put this? Right here, I guess. There's one here, and there's one hidden under this plastic lid right here, which caused me to bend it a little bit, but that's okay. I can bend that back easily, which just goes on like that. Okay, so we got the thing heated up. I've just put it down on 2 strips of wood, something like this, so that you're not pushing all the keys down at once. I recommend that. Just 2 little strips, so we can lean it nicely like that. Don't want to damage anything. Of course, these keys are meant to be pressed, so they could probably take it, but it's a lot of force that we're going to probably be applying here. So next we got to take apart this plastic. As I was saying earlier, you saw it was starting to come up, this plastic, and we want to remove that completely, but it is screwed down and held in all in by one piece. Another thing I liked to note here is that if you look, all the media keys are this really cheap membrane, which is not very great, but the plus side is it is all lit up by this one LED right here. So if we wanted to, we could replace that with a single pink LED right there. I might not. We'll see how it goes. It looks like it's through a hole there, so we could pull that out, put in a single pink LED, and then our buttons would also be pink. We'll decide on that in a little bit. First of all, let's go ahead and take apart this entire thing. I'm going to hopefully take notes using the camera itself here, and I'll be able to tell where everything's supposed to go. That's a ground wire. There's our USB cable, it looks like, so that should just come right off. I don't like to pull on these things, but sometimes you gotta be a little rough with these connectors. They're not particularly fantastic to work with. Oh God, there we are. See, we're pulling out the whole pin. That's good. Not going too well, is it? Let's go ahead and push this out. There we go. That makes it easier rather than trying to pull up the wires. I don't recommend doing that. That's no fun. So we got that out. Now we gotta go ahead and keep taking this out here. We got 2 little screws. I'm actually gonna put these screws back in so that I know exactly where they are into the plastic. So that I don't know where they, so that I know where they go. So I'm gonna take this board out, and this is held in by a ribbon, it seems, which looks like the type of ribbon you can just pull, yep. And I'm gonna put these screws back in so that I do not lose them, the particular position. One of the things you note is this stuff easily melts. So if you're going to do any soldering near it, don't get it too close to this. It melts extremely fast, and then you're out of luck. Those buttons just don't work anymore. So there's that. Although they are media keys, so they're not, well, maybe for you, but they're not particularly like essential to a keyboard. You can get by without them, although they are very useful. I will say that much. Yeah, I believe this last one went right there, yep. So put that there. This one's metal. This one's actually not plastic. Oh, we got to take the plastic housing off first. That would make sense. Give me a minute here. And it looks like this is almost ready to come off. Yeah, it's held in by that last screw right there. Let's see here. I don't really think I think we could have left that board on, actually. The only thing that's holding it in, yeah, we could have left that board on. The only thing that's holding it in is this cable. Well, you learned something there. This cable and this cable. So we'll go ahead, probably put that board back on to make it easier on myself, because that's not really essential. There you go, put that screw back in. Oh, that just came right off. Okay, well that's kind of useful. So it just slides right off like that. Convenient. And these are the LEDs for the nemu caps. These are white, so I'm not too concerned about that, because they were going to be just generally a neutral color anyways. I would have liked just a plain white keyboard. I wouldn't have even probably done this if this were the case, but I don't like the color red on my keyboards. Call me racist towards LEDs, I don't care. Oh boy. Help this out a little bit here, there we go. There's our USB cable disconnected. USB number 1. Oh, I should make note of which USB is which. I'm going to take a little piece of tape and make note that this is the USB for that. I guess I can kind of figure it out, can't I? Never mind. I guess it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Let's see what's under here. A little shielding here. Just a sticker. Not really sure what that's for. We're going to need to take it off anyway, so I'll keep that aside. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start removing. Yay! So we need to remove, if you look, what we're going to be doing is essentially removing all of the top ones. So these bottom ones are the switches, and these top ones are the LEDs. Simple as that. Basically what we're going to be doing is just desoldering every single one of the top ones with the desoldering gun. Hopefully we don't need to add any more solder or whatnot. I might actually go through and add a little bit of solder to every single one, but we'll see. So we're just going to remove all of these, and that should be that. We'll see how well it goes. Oh yeah, that's not going too bad. So you want it to kind of, let me see if I'm into focus here. You want it to kind of look like that. Not sure if you can get a good shot here. But you want a little bit of a hole right there. I'll try to get a close-up of it afterwards so you get an idea. So they should label them what each one is, but it doesn't look like they are. So I'm just gonna kind of guess at this point which each and every single one of them is. Now if you're using desolder wick for this, it's going to be a little bit more of a nightmare, because well, these solder wicks never very fun. Whereas this, I can just literally put it on and do it. And if you're coming here from the follow-up of the of this gun, as you can see, it does work for little tiny thing applications like this. This is kind of where it shines, is the smaller stuff, like removing these LEDs. Alright, welcome back. As you can see here, I've got, maybe you can't see, but I've got legs sticking up. I got rid of all of the pins. Let me refocus you there just in case. I got rid of all of the pins. It was a nightmare to do, to be honest. It took me about an hour to do. Even with the machine, I was just like, there was some of them that were really stuck in there, and I was like, oh god, just holding my head. I had to walk away for a minute. But yeah, it goes to show you that again, that although this tool is nice, it is not the most powerful. It doesn't transfer as much heat as I was saying. So some of them were getting a little cold, and then I was like, oh, I'm having to get out the braid, and nightmarish. Either way, some of them are a little more burnt off than I'd like to see. We may have to run some wires. That's fine. It happens. I need to invest in new tools. Definitely, I need to get a different soldering iron itself. This one is not particularly good. It's seeing the end of its life. I've had it for like 5 years now, and it's held up pretty well for what it is. Either way, what we're doing right here, as you can see, is I'm just tinning these. Not tinning them, sorry. I'm soldering in these LEDs, and you're probably wondering how they're staying up. Well, I insert them, and you'll see it when I do the next row. I insert them, and then I bend the pins just slightly, not a lot, just slightly enough, because you don't want to get them stuck, just slightly, so that gravity can't force them back down. And then we'll straighten them out and cut them. Or just cut them, actually. But that's the basic premise. We're just soldering in LEDs. I cut out most of the process of me wiggling it around because there was no reason for that. And as you can see, I'm trying this new lead-free solder, and my soldering iron's not having a great time heating it up. I don't know if it's because maybe there isn't any flux in the middle of it. That would be bothersome if there wasn't. Hopefully there is. I'm starting to get the feeling that the flux isn't as good as the stuff that comes in the rosin core. It's probably like the no-clean stuff. I think that's what this was, so that could be why it's not working as well as the rosin core. That stuff stinks, but it works. It's cancerous too, but so is this, I bet. It doesn't smell as bad. The fume extractor was on for a little bit, don't worry about me. Not that you are, but if you are, don't worry about me. Hopefully I'm putting these in right. I'm just basing it off of the other LEDs It looks like the diode's in the right position. So I got all of the main keys that you would push out. That's what I'm going to do for today. I'm going to take a break. It's too much of a nightmare to take these all out. And then I'm going to take the remaining out. There's like a couple. It's only like 10 or so, 12 left to do if I'm going to do them. And then that'll finish up the LEDs. Once I get this row done, I'm going to go get my laptop and we'll test it, see if it actually works. Hopefully it hasn't automatically stopped recording right now and I'm just talking into a microphone for no reason. It's interesting the way they draw these traces up. It's like, oh, well, I'll do it like this. Okay. It's weird. Yeah, this solder's not doing too good. You're probably out of shot, but that's okay. I'm coming back around in just a sec. I have to really leave the iron on there for a while. Like it takes a while to get to temperature and then flow down and then, it's awful. I don't really like it. I might get another roll of Rosen core lead stuff because that stuff works really well and this stuff's just giving me a rough time. Don't know if I like it. Could just be because it's a Chinese knockoff like everything I have. But... Alright, so that's that. Now I'm going to go get a plug in the main one here. And I'm just going to plug it into a laptop and see if the LEDs come on. So I'll be right back. Give me a second. Oof, let me pause this recording. So one last thing before I go and do this all off camera and then show you the final result is I noticed that this is it's bizarre. I've put the module back in while I'm testing it, but whenever I plug it in, sometimes these LEDs, certain LEDs, I'll put them all in and I'll solder them up and then there'll be a few that don't light up. And it's because the polarity is reversed for some reason and I have to switch all the polarities. I don't know if it's because my LEDs are cheap and manufactured that the polarity is backwards or something, depending on the legs. I don't know if it's because I'm tired. I doubt that. I doubt myself. No, just kidding. No, but some of the polarities are weird for some reason. So I find the best thing to do is to just plug it in, have them all lit up, and while it's running, just, this is just a tip for you, just slide them in while it's running. And if it's lighting up while you're sort of tapping it in, then you know that's the right one to use and you can leave it there and then solder it in fully when you're ready. And that's how I've been doing it now because I've made a few mistakes and I have to unsolder it, put it back in. It's a real pain. So that's a recommendation for you. It's time for the stunning conclusion. Are you prepared? I don't think you are. But we're going to get it done here, plug that in to my laptop. Oh God, please. I feel like a tutorial guy. Ta-da! Okay, so half of them don't work, as you can see, or a few of them don't work. There's a few blank spots. And you saw me talking about this just a little minute ago, that I was having a bit of difficulty getting them all to run. For some reason, I was just switching polarities, and I was like, what? Why isn't this working? So I ended up saying, okay, screw it. Because like I was starting at the first row, and then like I would get to a few of them, and then a spot would go out, and I'd like, uh-oh, let me reverse the polarity and stuff, and I'd like fiddle around, they'd come on, and then this one would stop, and I'd like, uh-oh. So I said, screw it. We'll do the whole thing as per spec. So we put it in positive where positive needs to be, negative where negative needs to be. The whole thing's perfectly as the keyboard wants it to be. However, as you can see, you got some extra bright spots, a few little dollar spots, and some none spots at all. Clearly, if I had to assume or guess, the LEDs are not spec'd for this keyboard. I never thought an LED would really have that sort of thing, but clearly I'm ignorant. To some degree, I guess that makes perfect sense. Not every LED is the same, but clearly the LEDs aren't spec'd the same as these original red ones. So I don't know, maybe they're drawing too much current in certain places. I have no idea. But if anybody has a suggestion, that'd be great. So it looks really nice. I'm really satisfied with it. The camera's white balance isn't really there to show it, but it looks really nice. It looks a little purple on the camera, but it looks a nice pink in real life. Either way, definitely don't want to let this one go. Probably going to come back to it eventually, so you can probably expect to see a follow-up video on this once I try and solve it. But for now, it's still a functioning keyboard, and it looks okay. So I'll come back to it later, and I'll let you know. Thanks for sticking around all this time. See you later. Whoa! As you can see, I've accomplished all of the rows that I wanted to have accomplished. I wanted all the keys to be pink, and those to be red, because I didn't have enough LEDs. There we go, we've done it. It took quite a bit of fiddling. I know I said right at the end, I psyched you out again, just like I did in my Samsung MediaTek video. I said, oh, I'll make another part. Nope. I fixed it just before I decided to release it. And the problem was that there was a short on key number 8. And I fixed that short, and then a bunch of them came back on, and I was like, oh, the whole thing's lit up except for a little bit here. So what's the problem with that? And then I realized that number 2, the polarity was still backwards. Somehow I managed to forget to switch that the way it was supposed to be. So I switched that, and then they all came on, except for number 6, too. And I was like, what happened to number 6? So I'm fiddling around, and I'm testing and testing. Oh, it turns out the pin got burnt off after all the times I kept pulling out LEDs and testing them over and over again. I wore out that pin, which is a shame, because I pulled these out a lot. Either way, so I just made a little jumper from 5 to 6. Kind of risky in this situation, because a lot of these are sort of like paralleled together in groups. So it's kind of risky because these might not be the same group, but I did it anyways. And there we are, we have a pink. It looks a little purple on camera, but whatever. And pink and red, just like I wanted, right here and right here. And it only costed $3. As you can see, some of them are a little bit brighter than the other ones, but I guess that's what you get for $3, right? I'm sure if I paid the $20 for LEDs, it might have come out, but no way. I wasn't doing that. It looks good. And here, in person, you don't really notice it. It's just sort of the camera picking it up. In person, it looks perfect. Yeah, and I can adjust it too. So it only costed about $3. See, I can adjust the brightness. You can't really see it too well on the camera. Rather than $50 for the RGB. $50, $60 extra for the RGB, which is not worth it, in my opinion. Those RGB LEDs cost nothing. And the controller in here, I'm pretty sure is probably perfectly capable of handling an RGB circuit if you wanted it to. Anyways, thanks for sticking around. Hope you found this somewhat useful. If you've got the time and the patience to do this, it takes a lot of effort to do it, to pull every single LED out and put them in. But it only costs $3. It switches. Instead of cost, you pay in time. But if you think it looks good, you might as well try it. Thanks for sticking around. See you next time.